face it, not everything you make in art is great. Sometimes you have good days, and sometimes you have bad days. Sometimes your art is excellent, and other times your art sucks. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this new video. And in this video we're going to be critiquing and taking a look at this drawing. We're going to change pace a little bit because this is not necessarily superhero art. This is if you're not familiar with this character, this is Cloud Strife from the video game Final Fantasy VII. That video game came out in 1997. And it's my favorite video game of all time. I love that video game. And I one of the reasons why I love it so much is because of the story, because of the characters. It was such a great story at the time. And when I played that game, I hadn't been exposed to anything like that before. So when that game came along and when I got through the story and everything, the story itself and everything was just amazing, fantastic, and it just completely just destroyed my mind. Like it was really cool. I mean, it may not be the greatest story ever, but just the impact that it left on me was very what can I say, substantial. It was very notorious. It was very yeah, it was a very serious impact on me artistically, just from a consumer standpoint. Just I enjoyed every part of that game, and I played it a million times. I've maxed out my characters, and I've done everything in that game. So it's really cool, and the characters mean a lot to me. So this is the first fan art that I did, the only fan art that I've done of anybody from Final Fantasy, which is pretty weird considering how much I like them. You would assume that I would have more pieces, but no, I only have this one piece. And this was done in 2019 in March, way back in my early days. For example, in my most recent Your Art Sucks video, I showed you a storm drawing. You can take a look at the backlog of videos and see that, check that video out. And that storm drawing is after this drawing. I don't know why I skipped over this piece. But I did. And so we're going to take a look at it now. We're going to take a look at some of the mistakes, some of the things that I think are not good, some of the things that could be improved upon, and yeah, just give you just my insights on what I could do better with this piece. Also, this also means that I am officially throwing this piece into the pool of drawings that I'm going to redraw. So hopefully you like Final Fantasy. Hopefully you select this character. We're going to do a show. What should I draw? I've done the show before. I've only done it once, but I want to do it again. And this time we're going to do it from this pool of art pieces that I've done previously, including Storm, Daredevil, Cyclops. There's a lot of characters there that you can pick from. So we'll throw him in that pool also. But I will give you more information about that later on, because right now I'm working on a commission. I got a few things that I want to handle first, and then we'll jump into doing this. But we will definitely do this this new challenge, I guess you can say, of redrawing my past art pieces. So yeah, this is from 5 years ago, 2019, and let's take a look at some of the mistakes, some of the things that I can point out, some of the things that I think might need improving. And just off the top of just by looking at the piece, just taking a quick glance, the first thing that I recommend improving is rendering. There's no rendering at all in this piece, at least in what pertains to inking, like doing feathering, doing cross hatching. There's nothing like this at all in the piece. Everything is just strict line work. Just doing the figures, just line work, just doing patterns. For example, here on his shirt, there's like this parallel line pattern. On the sword, there's this pattern here. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe my hands Get out the way. You can see it there on the shirt. There's some kind of pattern, and just the drawing itself. There's nothing else to it. There's no rendering of the hair. There's nothing. There's no rendering at all. Nothing on the pants. Nothing on the boots. Nothing. In terms of inking, this is horrible because there is no rendering, and we should render. But that doesn't mean that there is no rendering in the piece itself. No, there is. I used brush pens. I used the Faber-Castell. I'll put this here. Faber-Castell brush pens. Brush pens. I wish I had one on hand, but I don't. And they come in all colors. They have warm grays. They have cool grays, and I use a combination of both for this to render. For example, all along the pants, all along his pants here, I used a warm gray. Warm gray was just the main color I used throughout. The only cool gray I used was on the sword, on the blade itself, like here. Whoops. I'm drawing on the piece, I think. Yeah. So there's a, let me make sure. Yeah, there's a silver highlights there, silver highlights here, here also, which sucks because this goes this way and that goes that way. It should all be one single way. I don't know what the heck I was thinking, but yeah. So that's one of the mistakes. So rendering is just flawed throughout the whole piece. It's not consistent. There's areas where there's dark. According to the shadows, there's some dark areas, but the shadows are inconsistent. Like for example, this part of the pant of the leg. I don't know exactly how I drew this, but this part, I don't know, should not have shadow, and this part should. This part is okay. There's no shadow here in the crotch. I don't know. It's just the shadows are not where it should be. I should have gone back over that some more. But that's what it is, and it's inconsistent. So the rendering sucks. So fix the rendering. I even did shadow on the face. Look at that. It looks like he's got a beard or something. And I did under the eye. I don't know, for some reason I like to do that, but it doesn't necessarily require that kind of shadowing all the time. I try to do shadows for under the hair. Didn't quite come out the way that I had expected. Shadows on the arm a little bit. There's no cast shadow. There should be a cast shadow over this shoulder piece. So there's just all kinds of flaws in terms of the rendering. So obviously we have to improve on the rendering. And that's one thing. And then the second thing, which is a consistent problem that I had back in those early days when I was inking, is line weights. I have, there's a video in the backlog of my channel. Is to click on the live option, the live tab, and from the live stream videos that I've done, there's one that has a Groken fan art piece. And in that Groken fan art piece, no, I'm mistaken. No, don't check the live. Click to videos. And there's a video that I have that's called Building Your Lines. It's one of my more popular videos. Click on that video and you'll get all the information that I have about line weights, how to use them, when to use it, in what situations. I actually show you with art that I'm rendering at the time, like how this is how you should apply line weights. And anyways, line weights is a massive issue that I have here, because the line it's a dead line. There's dead lines throughout the whole piece. Everything is a dead line. And what do I mean with dead line? Dead line is just a line that has the same consistent thickness from beginning to end. It's just the same consistency in the thickness. And that's not what you should look for in comic art. In comic art, you should look for a variation of the thickness. So you should have some areas that are thicker, some areas that are thinner, some areas that are thicker and thinner, like this. So you have to play around with that, because that helps to give your lines and your characters and your shapes a little bit more volume. It helps to highlight some of the shadows. So it's important to think about that and to play with that, and to play with the variation of the line weights, and consistently practice with it so you can get better at it over time. So line weights, as always, is a problem that I've had in almost in all of my art from back in those days, because when I first approached inking, I thought that inking was just go over the line that I drew, and so everything was dead lines. And I did it on purpose because I thought that's the way you had to do it. But no, later I learned through critiques from people that gave me their feedback. They told me, no, yeah, this is great, but work with the line weights. And I was like, line weights, what's that? And then I learned and discovered about it and studied it, and so now I have a better idea of how to use it. So line weights, investigate that. You can take a look at my video, my backlog. Take a look at the videos called Building Your Lines. Take a look at that video, and that has all the information that I have on working with line weights. So yeah, so rendering is a problem. Line weights is also another problem, and anatomy, I guess, would be the third one. Third one would be anatomy. Some of the more serious problems. And I mean, the figure works well. It's pretty good. If you've ever played the game, you know that Cloud has a finishing move. It's called Omni Slash, and the last attack, the last move in that power move that he has is to jump in the air and slash down at his opponent. And so I was trying to capture that moment, as he's about to swing. So he's obviously arching back. He's got his hand behind his head, holding his sword. So the anatomy, this is the best that I could do at that time. I think now I could do a little bit better because it's a difficult pose, because you have to, the head, you got the head, it's tilted back a little bit, or if you want, you can tilt it forward, to go against the motion of the body. Now the body, obviously, the torso is going to be inclined like this, on this curve. So you incline it like this. Then the rest of the bottom part of the torso and then the pelvis, go in that direction. Then you have the leg that has to follow that action line. So one leg has to do this, and then I decided to prop one up. So the other line's like that, and then that, and then that. So to right there, everything there, we can say that everything up to this point, we can say that it's okay. So you can do it like that. As you can see here, I inclined the head forward a little bit, as if he's looking at his opponent. But then the arms is what needs help. So the arms, I'm not going to try to tell you how to do it now because I probably can't do much better for it now. But here, for example, from the elbow, from the elbow to the hand, there has to be some foreshortening. So if you see here, you would draw your arm, you would draw this part. I'm sorry, let me organize myself. You would draw this part, you would draw it like this, at least have this general shape. Then you can add the muscles to it. Here would be your elbow, and then here would be the wrist, and then you just have to connect that like that. And then you have to draw, obviously, the hand holding the sword, and then the head would be here. And then the other arm can go in the same direction also, and again the elbow like that, and then the arm going back, and then your sword going like that. This is a pose that interests me a lot because my character also wields a big ass sword. He also has a big sword, and so understanding the ins and outs of these kinds of poses is something that's super beneficial for me and my comic, for my character. So getting to understand that is super important for me. So that's another reason why I took the challenge of drawing it, because I had no idea how to approach that pose. But you have to play with it. So after messing around with it, you can come up with something like this, and then your character can look down, and you can do a 3/4 face like that, looking down at his target, something like that. So that's I think a lot better than what I have here. So the anatomy needs to be worked on, and yeah, so that's what I did. And if you want an inside scoop, I actually use this same pose in my comic. In That's actually a spoiler of sorts. In my comic, I'm drawing a comic that's called Ominous. I'm currently in the writing stages of the main book. I would say I have. Well, the story itself is written, but right now I'm looking at book one. Book one, and I'm about 40% through it. At the moment, I have like 30 something pages. I think it's going to be a big one, like a 72-page book, maybe this first one. I don't know. I have to go back with the editor, but that's what I suspect right now, seeing how things are going, how things are working. So I'm currently writing that, and in the meantime, I did a short 10-page story, which I gave a subtitle to. It's called Ominous Avenging Death. You'll see a trailer and the video after this video that talks about it. And in Avenging Death, my main character Zadok. I'm thinking Psyduck. Hold on. My main character, his name is Zadok. 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 He does. I make him use this pose in the comic. So to do what, against who, when, where, why, you just have to find out by checking out the comic. And I'll leave the information at the end of the video. Check it out if you like. But yeah, so those are some of the things that you should work on with this. That I should work on with this character. You know? Rendering. The rendering sucks. Line weights suck. Anatomy could be improved because part of it I think is good, but there's another part of it that sucks. You know, so I have to check that out. And I guess we can go a little bit deeper, and we can say, for example, the fourth thing, perspective. Perspective is super tricky and super difficult if you don't know what you're doing, like in this case. So you cannot draw this sword like facing 100, like at a 90 degrees or 100 perfectly at the viewer. You can't. It has to be at an angle because he's holding the sword at an angle. So you have to draw that, and there are some consistencies. For example, considering what I've done here, no, you're seeing this part of this underside part of the sword, which means that you can also see this. So there's that consistency. There's that consistency. But I think here is where I break that consistency with these inside holes. There's the perspective for that doesn't match the perspective for that. So I have to fix that. I think it would be a little bit downward, a little bit more. But again, check your references, check your perspective. One recommendation that I have in terms of that also is look at statues. Not like statues that you see in the city. I'm talking about statues of art. No, artist statues like Michelangelo or David. I'm sorry, Michelangelo's David or anything like that. No, but look at statues. There are a lot of statues, like display statues for characters, not like for Spider-Man, for Venom. There's a lot of statues that exist. So you can take a look at those. Take a look at swords. And those statues give you a pretty good reference for lighting, for many different things like that. For perspective also, like you can just take a look at a one. Maybe you could take a picture of it and then use that picture as a reference to make sure that your perspective is okay. That could be one reason. You can also work it from learning perspective itself, but this is a little bit tricky because supposedly the horizon line is below the character, so we're looking up at him. And now if we're looking up at him, why would we be able to see the underside of the sword? We shouldn't, but the way he's got it, the way he's holding it means that we should be able to see some of that. So there's a little play on that. So if you're not too familiar with it, I probably wouldn't try figuring out how the perspective works with that. If you're watching the video and you know how it works, please leave a comment and explain it to us. But I would probably not play with that too much. I would probably look at a statue or a reference shot just to make sure that I have something that is consistent, that can pass off for good perspective. That would be one. And then one final thing, minimal thing, speed lines. There's many different ways that people do speed lines. Everything is valid. Even this is valid, but I don't like how I did this. Usually with my speed lines, at least the way you can see it here, there's like, I did the speed line, but there's like an area here that I didn't touch the character and I didn't touch the sword. I didn't cross the sword here. I'm sorry if you can see this. Hey, sorry. I didn't cross the sword here. I didn't cross the character here or here. I didn't cross the sword or the character here. And it looks a little weird, in my opinion. It can work, but it just looks a little bit weird. I think with the coloring, like if you were to color this, I think it would look a lot better. But just the way it is, it looks weird. So normally the way I do, the way I would approach speed lines now, for example, if I'm looking at this character here, there's a vanishing point of sorts. So the vanishing point, and then all the lines come from that vanishing point. So the way I would do it is for all the lines to go to that vanishing point. So I would do heavy lines like this. Let's see. This is probably gonna look a little wonky because I'm not. But just to give you an idea of how I would approach this. Again, I have to check, but just to give you an idea. I would do something like this. Like the vanishing point would be the center, and in the center would be the brightest spot. So coming out from that spot, it would get darker and darker and darker. So I would do heavy, thick lines up top, thin lines at the bottom. Heavy lines up top, thin lines at the bottom, and play with it like that. You can do it that way, or you can do it the opposite way and have dark lines here, and then bright lights, the brightness, around the character. It's a little weird, but I think you can pull it off. You can pull it off for sure. And that's how I would approach speed lines like that. So the speed lines here, they're all dead weight. And so here also, if it's possible, you have to add some variation like you do here. If it's possible. No, it's a little bit more difficult, but if it's possible, you can add some variation to it. And yeah, I would play with that. So yeah, so that's it. I don't want to take up too much time, but that's what I have for this, for Cloud Strife. This piece sucks. And I make my argument for that with these points here. Rendering could improve, line weights could improve, anatomy could improve, perspective of the sword. I recommend use statues also, and speed lines. I would do speed lines much more differently now than back in 2019. So those are my recommendations. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I think 80 or 70 people away from 500, so that would be great if I can get to 500. Yeah, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Tell everyone about me. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Yeah, tell everybody about me, and I will see you in the next video. I have a lot, like I said before, I have stacks of bad art, so we have content for days. And please be sure to check out my previous Your Art Sucks videos. And that's it. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I will catch you in the next video, and take care. Goodbye. Hello, everyone. The time is finally upon us. Ominous Avenging Death is now available. Avenging Death is a short 10-page story that serves as a preview of what kind of art you can expect and the world you'll see in the main story of Ominous. In Avenging Death, we'll see Zadok take on the monstrous Deathmonger in a 10-page fight scene that'll be sure to get you hooked into the world of Ominous. All of the artwork is done, including the line art, which was done by me, the colors, which were done by Emmanuel Orlas, and the lettering, which was done by Paul Bird. So grab your copy of the digital PDF file today for only $5. That's right, $5. Contact me in my DMs on Twitter for more information. Now, coming up next is the official trailer of Ominous Avenging Death. Enjoy.